I've eaten plants for most of my life. And whenever I ate plants, I always knew deep down that this was something I should not be eating.
Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to AJ, our longtime viewer and supporter. And she wanted me to check out this video. I can see exactly why. You have an actual doctor going out on the record urging all people all across the world to never eat plants.
Dr. Sam Hai, internal medicine doctor. And for this episode, I am going to talk about why plants want to kill you.
Oh, really, doctor? I didn't know plants had intentions, and you understand their intentions somehow. This is amazing. Wow, medical school's really come a long way in the past few years, Dr. Hyde. I've never heard of Dr. Hyde, by the way, but let's listen along and do his argument here and see if he has any solid evidence, any solid research that leads to the conclusion that plants are trying to kill us.
I say that with a little chuckle because most people feel very strongly that plants are healthy for you.
Well, that's quite the extraordinary claim there, Dr. Hyde, that plants are not healthy for us. But as we all know here, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And as we'll see, he just pretty much has crap evidence. Not only is it the scientific consensus that eating plants is healthy for you, you have health organizations from around the world risking their reputations if they're totally wrong, like you probably think they are, saying that even eating a diet of 100% plants, a vegan diet, is nutritionally adequate and healthy for all people. And this is exactly why I've been saying here for years, to not listen to one sole person, an influencer, even a doctor in this case, as your source of truth and information. Listen to organizations of health professionals. They can't go rogue like one sole person can. In other words, Dr. Hai, I would love to see any health organization who has reviewed the scientific literature and makes the claim that you're making, that plants are trying to kill us, don't eat them.
And I'm not Dr. Anthony Chaffee. I love Dr. Anthony Chaffee.
So from what I gather, this Dr. Chaffee guy seems to be the main person promoting the plants are trying to kill us hypothesis. And a few years ago, Mike the Vegan made a great response video to Dr. Chaffee, and I'll just play you a little bit.
The way I came to the way of eating that I do, which is really just meat and water, is 22 years ago when I was taking cancer biology at the University of Washington in Seattle. We went over how plants use defense chemicals.
Yes, he eats an all-meat diet, and just wait, because this gets good with his reasoning.
We were looking at this from a cancer perspective, so we were looking at carcinogens. And we learned 20 years ago that Brussels sprouts alone had over 136 identified human carcinogens in them.
So because of my fear of cancer, I have decided to make my diet entirely of a class 2A carcinogen, according to the WHO, which is, of course, red meat. Yeah, that's really sound logic.
Yeah, 100%, Mike, showing the irrational thinking and mental gymnastics that these people are making to arrive at the conclusion, don't eat plants. So anyway, let's let Dr. Hai explain the story as to why plants are naturally these poison, toxin-producing factories.
Plants, if you think about it, are stationary. They cannot evade these herbivores. And so they develop chemical toxins as self-defense. These toxins include lectins, phytates, salicylates, oxalates, and there's many, many more.
And we'll talk about all those so-called anti-nutrients later on in this video.
But these are just things that plants will release out to let these herbivores know that don't eat me. If you eat me, you're going to get sick. You're going to throw up. You might actually die.
Really? These animal herbivores could actually die like right away if they eat a plant that has oxalates or phytates or whatever?
And so these animals who have been eating plants and they get a bad reaction understand now, oh, I better stay away from this plant in the future.
All right, so he seems to be saying there's some kind of conditioning going on here. Animals learn very quickly if they eat a plant and that plant gives them a bad reaction, they learn not to go back and eat from that plant again.
But we humans are so smart that we can override our biology and eat plants. They're not going to kill us right away, but they will kill us over time.
Wait, a moment ago you said an animal eats from a plant, it gets a short-term bad reaction, which trains it not to eat from that plant. Now you're saying the humans don't have this? Like, which is it? Is there a learning from eating bad plants that happens immediately? Or does it take years or a long-term kind of thing to happen? Because if it's the latter, animals aren't going to learn from a long-term thing. They're not going to like, oh, I died 7 years later, so I'm not going to eat from that plant again. Meaning you can't have it both ways, doctor. You can't say the short-term reactions from an animal eating a plant trains it not to eat from that plant, while saying, well, no, for humans, it takes a long time for them to get ill.
And they'll kill us because we develop chronic diseases, and that takes years to develop, and eventually it kills us.
So his claim here is that eating plants over the long term cause chronic diseases that will kill us. I mean, this is just such an absurd and extreme claim. I cannot find studies to prove or disprove it because no one's studying this because it's so Looney Tunes. I mean, I'm forced, unfortunately, sorry guys if you guys don't like this, but I'm forced to look at an AI overview to try to find what the consensus is. And it says, no, eating plants does not cause chronic disease that will kill you in the long term. In fact, studies show that a diet rich in fruits and veggies is associated with a lower risk of developing chronic diseases. The very same things that he said that eating plants increases your risks of. And the AI overview continues on saying, while some meat influencers on social media claim that plant compounds like lectins and anti-nutrients are harmful and trying to kill you, these claims are not supported by scientific evidence. So AIs are even aware of these anti-science knuckleheads. And to show you that this AI overview is not just hallucinating the stuff up, let's look at a study published by the National Institute of Health entitled Plant-Based Diet and Risk of All-Cause Mortality, a Systematic View and Meta-Analysis. And they find that those adhere to a high, healthy plant-based diet have lower risk of all-cause mortality. And speaking of how the lectins and legumes are trying to kill you, this couldn't be more absurd because studies have shown that increased legume consumption is one of the strongest correlates for longevity. So if lectins are trying to kill you, they're doing a really shitty job. They're making you live longer.
But you're thinking, okay, so we can eat plants. We're not going to die right away. We are carnivores. We're not omnivores. We eat plants for survival.
Survival? Like, what are you talking about? There's nothing involving survival as far as me getting myself down to the market or a restaurant and buying plants.
During times of famine and when there was starvation, plants got us by.
All right, so he's going to go on this whole make-believe fantasy thing about his ideal human past or something like that, which really has nothing to do with our present. He's invoking an appeal to nature fallacy, but let's let him continue.
Just think. During the Ice Age, when the Earth was covered with massive sheets of ice, there were very few plants, if any, that were growing.
So he's saying there was pretty much a lack of edible plants, like say during the last Ice Age. And once again, no, that's not true. Their availability and diversity were likely more limited and varied by region compared to today. And of course, they got it wrong about the Earth being covered by giant sheets of ice, say during the last Ice Age. If you look at this Ice Age map, you'll see there were plenty of sections of the Earth that were very far from the ice sheets.
And even if there were some, there is no way we could have survived on those few plants. We got through the Ice Age, which lasted thousands of years, by eating animals.
So he's saying humans were forced to eat pretty much only animals during the last Ice Age? Once again, completely false. Humans were not forced to eat only meat during the last Ice Age. While hunting became more important, early humans also continued to rely on plants and other available food sources. And once again, to show you guys that the AI is not just making stuff up and hallucinating here, there's new science that shows that Stone Age humans learned to unlock the glucose in plants to help get through the Ice Ages. Plants rich in starch help early humans to thrive even at the height of the last Ice Age, the researchers say. Plants were the staples. They were the foods that formed the basis of our calories in most environments, said Dr. Amanda Henry, a paleobiologist and associate professor. And even Neanderthals, which we perceive as the most heavily meaty meat of our ancient human ancestors, even they were eating plants during the last Ice Age. So now, what are you going to believe? The actual findings of the best science that we have in the field of paleobiology? Or are you going to trust some ill-informed make-believe story from a recent internal medicine doctor who found the carnivore diet? And once again, his ill-informed story doesn't even matter because it's just an appeal to nature fallacy. Who cares what people did 10,000 years ago? We don't live like those people now. It's this myth, it's this fallacy to believe that what people were doing in some undefined portion of our past was the best thing possible, and that's exactly what we should be doing now. Completely fallacious reasoning. So with this primitive history account of his diet out of the way now, let's get back to the crux of his argument here, how plants are trying to kill us and how these anti-nutrients are so bad for us and we should never eat plants because of these anti-nutrients.
And what happens when we ingest these toxins like lectins, oxalates, phytates, salicylates? They go into our gut and they bind minerals, which, is not something we want because we need to use the minerals for cellular reactions.
So if I had a nickel for every time I heard a meatfluencer on social media give this poor argument as to why we should never eat plants, I'd be a multi-millionaire. Instead of listening to these ill-informed meatfluencers with their bizarre fantasies that have nothing to do with science or reality, let's look instead at what Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health says about anti-nutrients. And indeed, Dr. Hai isn't lying, like say phytates, which are in legumes, can decrease the absorption of zinc, iron, magnesium, and calcium. However, Harvard does point out it is not known how much nutrient loss occurs in our diets because of anti-nutrients. Unlike Dr. Hai and other meat influencers who claim they know with absolute certainty how much nutrient loss happens when we consume these anti-nutrients. But the real kicker is this, and this should just end all these anti-vegans with their nonsense. Many anti-nutrients like phytates, lectins, and so on can be removed or deactivated by soaking, sprouting, or boiling the food before eating. Meaning yes, in these raw, uncooked, hard as a rock legumes, phytates are in there. You guys are right. But the point is, no human in their right mind eats them in this form because they're pretty much unedible. Instead, if you get some store-bought legumes, they've been cooked, they've been soaked. And in fact, you can just prepare these hard, inedible, hard as a rock, uncooked legumes and prepare them yourself. Cook them, soak them. Meaning, why do you guys keep talking about this moot point? No one eats these raw, uncooked legumes.
But carnivore gets rid of all these symptoms. First of all, how does it get rid of all these symptoms? Because carnivore is the ultimate elimination diet. The ultimate elimination diet.
Wait, where have I heard this before? That a certain way of eating, in his case here, carnivore, gets rid of all these symptoms and diseases through elimination?
The number one reason why raw food heals all disease is elimination.
So wait, how can they both be right since their diets couldn't be more opposite from each other? Well, the reason is they are both using the same strategy, the same lack of science-based claims they're making here for their diet. So if you have no science to support what you're saying, you can claim your diet does anything. It'll make your IQ double. It'll make you live 350 years. There's no science to support it. So yeah, this is a typical grifter move, making outrageous claims about what you're promoting, in this case, their respective diets, and you have absolutely no science to support those claims. Anyway, I had more prepared from his video to respond to, but I see I'm already getting quite long here. There's just so much to say. And they say it takes about 10 times more time and energy to respond to a bogus claim with actual evidence-based information. And this is buried out once again here. So I don't want this video to be like 15, 20 minutes long. So I'm going to end it now. So anyway, please leave your questions and comments down below. What do you think? Do you think plants are trying to kill us? I think not, because if plants were indeed trying to kill us, they're doing a pretty crappy job. I've been vegan now for 14 and a half years and vegetarian pretty much for 10 years prior to that. And I have healthier labs now, blood tests, than I did say before all that. Like, how often does a person get healthier as they age from their 30s into their 50s? Pretty rare. So I'm still waiting for all this bad crap to kick in, Dr. Hai. So if you have any idea when this is going to happen to me, or why all the positions of the health organizations and how people who adhere to a high plant-based diet have lower all-cause mortality, if you have some reason to give me why all that science is wrong and I'm about to die sometime soon because I have beans, I'm gonna go have some beans right after this. I'm starving for them now. Please come to my live streams, comment down below. Yeah, Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be civil and we can have a conversation. So until next time, guys, I'll see you then. Remember, it doesn't suck being vegan.